We've got the 2025 Lexus NX 350.
We haven't driven this since it first came out.
Here we go.
Turbo.
Plenty of power. Definitely.
What you can't see is we actually launch into a corner. Anyway, we haven't driven this since it was first launched. It's nice to get the turbo back. So what size engine's under this one?
A 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with an 8-speed automatic transmission, 275 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. Standard all-wheel drive.
Premium fuel is required. With a full tank of gas, you'll get about 560 kilometers or 348 miles.
Now, when we say premium fuel is recommended, it means that you can put regular fuel in. In the case of this NX Turbo, premium fuel is required.
So pay up. We don't understand it because this is the same 2.4 liter turbo that's in the Highlander and then the Tacoma on the Toyota side, and you can use regular gas, but obviously tuned for fuel efficiency and more power. All right, so this is the 350, no hybrid, no plug-in. What do you get with it? What are the key standard features?
The base trim comes with a 7-inch multi-information display, a 9.8-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a 10-speaker audio system, new Lux upholstery, heated and ventilated front seats, 8-way power front seats with driver's seat memory, a power slide moonroof, power tailgate, and Lexus Safety System Plus 3.0. In the US, not all these features are standard, but you can add packages or a la carte items to the trims to get the extras.
Now, somebody has a question about buttons in Questions Coffee and Cars. That's coming up halfway through the video, but what are we going to put it in, Andrea?
You got to put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure to like and subscribe, but also follow along on Instagram to get a question in and also see what's going on behind the scenes. And for me, it's Motormouth_auto, and the links are below the like button. So this is a 2025 model, arriving very early. Andrea, are there any changes?
Well, not a lot in Canada. The 350 Executive and F Sport 3 grades get advanced parking assist, but in the US a little bit more. But I just want to clarify that the features that the US is getting, we already have in Canada. Things like,
because our cars are so much more expensive here.
For whatever the reason is, exterior color like copper crest in the interior, macadamia, is now offered in the US. Also, the addition of 2 USB-C ports in the front, intuitive parking assist, and a power backdoor are now standard.
All right, so that's what's new. Not a whole lot, Andrea. They're sticking with the formula because this thing sells.
Yeah,
it sells.
Super popular. In Canada, this is their #1 seller in the fleet. So I get it. You know, this is really comfortable. It's refined, it's smooth. I was a little bit concerned about this having run flat tires, but surprisingly on the highway, it's quite good. Lexus has really insulated the cabin on this model.
All right, so when we drove this at the launch event, we were driving a pre-production, almost prototype model, and we complained a lot about the run flat tires. And we haven't driven this 350 gas model since then. In fact, we had some good adventures with that. We sent it, we launched it.
We did.
Oh, by mistake, but we launched it.
Holy what is wrong with you?
I didn't see it.
Oh my God.
It's like to test the suspension. We might have broken it. But now that we're in this, and I agree with Andrea, it's certainly quieter and more refined and more Lexus.
Now we've got the top trim. It's not the F Sport top trim. That's another level. But what I like about this is that when you put this in sport mode, I can tell that Lexus has really made an effort to make the steering a bit heavier, suspension becomes slightly firmer, but always remember you're in a Lexus. This is not a BMW. Lexus does refinement really well. Now you can get the F Sport model, and it's got a sport tuned suspension, front and rear performance dampers, and also you get more drive modes with that F Sport model.
This is really a great city vehicle. Compact utilities are the most popular because they actually have a great form function. This thing is ticking a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, maneuverability is great. The turning radius is excellent. And I really enjoy the seating position.
You can hear the run flats now. This particular stretch of road is bumpy. Now go over to the smooth part.
Now listen to this. That one has a lot of potholes. That's a big difference.
Night and day. So always make sure the roads are paved when you're going.
Yeah, or try it if you have rough roads. As I was saying, I really like the driving position in here. You sit up and over the dash. The seats are comfortable. Visibility is very good.
The spindle grille. Some love it, some don't. That's coming up a little bit later. I think that this is an evolution of the previous NX. They did a nice job with it. I particularly like the blue, Andrea.
Yeah, I like the blue as well. It's got a really great contrast with this tan interior. So elegant and sophisticated looking. This gets 8.1 inches of ground clearance. The F Sport model, 7.7, so a little bit less. The F Sport models definitely up this sportiness with black exterior accents. You've got available larger 20-inch wheels, and of course the F Sport badging.
I don't think it's worth it. I think this is the one I would get. I think that with the smaller wheel and tire, it's a nice compromise of agility and comfort. And you're buying a Lexus and a luxury brand to have a bit more refinement, and the wheel and tire makes a huge difference on a car. So I'm not sure all that F sportiness is worth it on a Lexus.
I agree with you. I would just get this model or a lower trim. There's just so many trims to choose from for different budgets, which is another thing that I really like. Now this comes standard with LED headlamps, LED fog lamps, LED rear combination lamps, power folding exterior mirrors, 18-inch wheels, and as we mentioned, run flat tires. Premium triple beam LED headlamps are available.
Oh, Andrea always makes fun of me. I like a black interior on a car, but you know what? If I was buying this Lexus NX, I would get this combo, the blue. That's right, Andrea. Not a black interior. I would get this tan. I think this makes the car.
Wow. I mean, that is really out there for Zach. You have no idea. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. Yeah, it really does. It, like I said, it feels upscale. It feels sophisticated. It feels like a Lexus. I think the materials in here are good. Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. I don't like the piano black at the center console at all. Now, to the right of it, where the cup holders, they've gone with more of a matte finish. They could have carried that through. Considering this top trim gets up there in price, the door pockets at the bottom really should be more of a soft touch material.
Very, very few brands do that at this price point. You got to go up the next level to get the soft touch at the bottom of the doors. So it's the piano black around the screens, and to the left, it's just an addiction in the auto industry that they've got to break. They need to go to rehab and get away from the piano black. There's something better out there. We know there is.
There definitely is. And that's what I said, the matte black. Now this top trim has got leather trimmed upholstery. You've got this really lovely black open pore wood. It does come standard with new Lux upholstery. And if you get the F Sport model, once again, upping that sportiness, you can get a black or that red interior. The red is not too bad of a red. It's not as bad as Acura red, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I'm not a red interior guy. I like it when it's like a brick color. All right, let's get into what are the available features. Believe it or not, this 14-inch screen is optional. Also, there's a 17-speaker Mark Levinson sound system, a heated steering wheel, wireless charger, panoramic view monitor, head-up display, panoramic sunroof, power rear door with kick sensor, heated rear seats, and 64-color ambient lighting. All right, here's me getting in the back seat. This isn't winning the space contest. It is not the biggest in this class. Some might find it a little bit tight. It's got fairly good leg room, pretty good headroom, but it's comfortable. How does it stack up?
Comparing the NX to the BMW X3, the Lexus offers 41 inches of front row legroom, which is over half an inch less than the X3. Second row legroom at 36.1 inches is only a little less than the X3.
Lifting on this one, the power lift gate, and you get a very useful cargo space underneath the floor. There's a fairly deep bin, and that's because there's no spare tire.
Cargo space behind the second row for the NX is 22.7 cubic feet, and overall cargo space is 46.9 cubic feet. This falls short to the X3.
So you got questions about the grill, the UX, the NX, and the RX. Let's get at it. Oh, I need my coffee.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
So glad you posted. I recently drove the NX and the RX. I found that the RX was a smoother ride. What do you think? Am I wrong? Maybe I need to drive the NX again. All hybrids, by the way. Now, she did write RX, but she meant NX because she clarified that after, right?
Okay, so it's pretty obvious to us. We were just in Toronto for the auto show a couple of months ago, and we had an RX as a loaner.
Yeah.
And the difference between the NX and the RX is really quite dramatic. You've got a longer platform, a wider track. It feels more poised on the road, especially on the highway. But this is more nimble and fun.
That's exactly what I replied on Instagram. So it is definitely smoother and more refined. It's also wider, so the cabin feels bigger. It's just a more substantial vehicle, but it's also going to cost more money. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit less money and you don't need the space, I think the NX is a lot of fun. How do you find the touch buttons on the steering wheel? Is the NX significantly larger than the UX? I prefer the UX, as backseat is not a priority for us.
Well, is it bigger than the UX? You couldn't get any smaller with the UX.
So
the
Zach
UX
isn't the biggest fan of the UX. I am.
I like the UX if you're a single person or just a couple and you're using it to bomb around and get groceries and stuff. It's good. It's a good empty nester car. If you need to put anybody in the back seat, it's way too small, and if you need to use the trunk, it's really not that big. So this is like an enormous vehicle in comparison to the UX.
So
enormous.
We have
huge.
a lovely woman who reached out who bought the UX and put 2 car seats back there. So
wouldn't be my choice.
It's possible. Well,
Andrea,
first off,
I grew up in the era of Minis and Volkswagen
exactly.
Beetles.
How much space do you need?
You can get by with anything. Is it better? No, this is better.
The NX has 3 inches more rear leg room than the UX. So that is a substantial difference, but also it's the height. The UX has 5 inches less height than the NX. So,
yeah, just get this.
That is a big difference.
All right, the buttons, I find the interface with the buttons a bit confusing. It's not second nature because there's sub-menus. So these controllers work through sub-menus. I think if you live with it all the time, you would...
Yeah.
Listen, I don't really use them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Every time I drive a Lexus, I start with it and I go, forget it. I'll just use the screen.
You know why? Because there's knobs and buttons and it's so easy. Unlike our GTI, I use the steering wheel all the time.
On that car.
But yeah, because there's no knobs
option.
and buttons. So I think you definitely get used to it. I haven't found them to be a problem at all. Do you feel like the Japanese brands have found the right mix of digital screens and buttons? What could other manufacturers learn from them?
Okay, don't love this. I don't like the HVAC controls at the bottom of the screen. And one thing, when we drove the RX in Toronto, I used the Navi, the onboard navigation system, not Android or Apple. And the most frustrating thing was, Andrea, if you have the navigation screen on, unlike Android and Apple, you couldn't split the screen and have your music.
True.
So every time I wanted to change the radio, I had to go off of navigation. And sometimes you want to change the radio and you're coming up to, where's the exit for the 400? So that was annoying. That I don't like. And I asked them at the dinner that night, can you have a split screen? And they said no. So I would use all the time Apple and Android. And I don't like these buttons at the bottom. There are other Lexus and Toyota vehicles that still have hard keys like the Grand Highlander. I prefer.
I'm not as bothered about this as Zach. I find that having knobs and buttons, a volume knob, turning up your climate control with these is really refreshing in a world where a lot is just going on in the touchscreen. And I think that you make a good point about the Japanese brands, and it made me think about Honda, of course, Toyota, Subaru on their smaller screen. On their larger screen, they have moved to things also being in the touchscreen, but for climate control, there is a tab at the bottom. Look, we're in a BMW as well this week, and everything is done in the screen. And it is challenging. It's a learning curve for most. So I do like to see more buttons. And I do think the Japanese are doing a great job with that.
And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
Have you heard whether Lexus plans to stick with the always polarizing spindle grille for good? It's like baking an elegant cake and topping it with a live ferret. This concludes today's edition of Odd Metaphors.
A ferret. All right.
Crazy ferret.
Good metaphor. This is very polarizing. We were in Japan, lucky enough to go to the Heritage Museum with Toyota, and they showed us around all of the looms that the Toyota family started doing, and that is a tribute to the loom works. It's a spindle grill.
It's a spindle grill.
From looming.
And you know what? It's really evolved over the years. Initially, I remember when I first saw a Lexus with the crazy spindle grill, I thought it looked like a bit of a snowplow. But
the LX had the
now
snowplow.
It's really, I feel, improved. I think the RX looks really good. This NX looks a little bit more subdued. Even the TX looks pretty cool.
I think that's where they're going. I think they're getting away from this one and going more to that integrated bumper look in the TX. So it might not be a ferret on top. It might just be a squirrel. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's get into the vital stats of this, like fuel economy and more.
Let's start with pricing. We'll do Canada first and then move on to the US. In Canada, it includes freight, PDI, and fees. The base model starts at just over $56,500, and the top F Sport 3 is just over $70,500. In the US, the base model starts at just over $45,500, and the top trim is just over $50,000.
Here's the fuel economy for this turbo. 10.9 liters per 100 kilometers city, 8.5 on the highway. That's 21 miles per gallon city, 28 miles per gallon highway. This NX can tow just 2,000 pounds, and the warranty is 4 years, 80,000 kilometers, or 50,000 miles. In the United States, complimentary scheduled maintenance is covered for just 1 year or 10,000 miles. Compact utility, everybody wants one. You want a premium or luxury model? What else can you buy?
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Volvo XC60 with a 2-liter turbo 4, 247 horsepower, and a starting price of just under $58,500.
The Acura RDX with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 272 horsepower, and a starting price just under $57,000.
The BMW X3 with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 248 horsepower, and a starting price of almost $57,000.
The Audi Q5 with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, 261 horsepower, and a starting price of $57,000.
So there are 4 compact SUVs for you to consider.
Lightning round, 2 things we like, 2 things we'd like to see improved.
I really like the refinement this NX offers.
It's a great size, and I can understand why it's so popular.
And less piano black in here, let's continue with the NX sophistication.
All right, and a spare tire, I'm all down for that. All right, there's the Lexus NX for 2025. What do you think of that?
Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see, subscribe. We'll see you next time.